Hey guys, welcome to the Atmo channel. So this video that you guys are seeing right now is something I made many years ago for a course that was about like 15 hours long that I never released. So basically what I'm going to do here is release the course completely free.
Sounds good to me.
For YouTube on the channel. I'll be periodically releasing the videos as I rewatch them. I haven't checked them out in a very long time. And the reason why I never ended up releasing it was because I got very distracted with building Atmo, the website. One thing led to another, and I just, now I'm thinking about it. So what I did was I made a course that went over what a map painter needed to know. Basically, I was going to call it to the path to becoming a well-rounded map painter. So basically, I have very intro stuff, mid stuff, and then some advanced stuff. So this footage over here is actually something that I had a buddy of mine take actual real red footage of, and then I replaced the background and the dead trees, and I can show it to you here what it used to look like. It used to look like this. And then I got my comper friend do the animations on the trees and a couple of other things. And after I release all the videos, I'll see if I can get him on and go over some of his little comping techniques of what he usually uses to finish up a shot. Be sure to subscribe so you can keep up to date with all the new releases for each chapter. And these are the chapters. I have a lot of content. It's, I start out with composition, and then I get into some Maya stuff, and then more technical stuff, and then some Maya stuff, and then Nuke and color space and whatever. So I might actually not release some chapters, depending on how they turn out. Maybe I already have a video on YouTube that might be better than the chapter. Since the software is probably old, all the techniques are going to be the same, but there's probably going to be some little changes, probably in Nuke, like I know for the whole like shuffling alphas and stuff. They changed the shuffle node, so probably have to show that. And yeah, so I hope you guys enjoy this, and so just be sure to subscribe, join the Atmo site, join the Discord. So for each chapter video, you can go and ask me some questions, because it was a long time ago since I've made it, and I've updated some of the techniques, or maybe I just didn't explain it very well. Who knows? So be sure to join the Discord, and also join the website, and post your work up here, and click the open to feedback, so I'll know to check out and give some feedback to your stuff. Also, it's extremely helpful if you guys donate just like $1 to the site to help me continue building the website and pumping out videos like this too, right? It's, I have a lot of new features that I want to do. And so, yeah, that would be really, really, really grateful if you guys could help me out there. And, please subscribe and give a thumbs up and even comment on the videos, because it will really, really help the algorithms on YouTube. So yeah, let's get into this first video about composition. I get straight bare bones with it. There's tons of videos out there that you can elaborate even more on with composition. It doesn't have to be complicated. You don't have to follow the rules 100% at all. Basically, the whole point of it is to be able to control where the eye is going. So yeah, let's get into this. Hey guys, so in this chapter, we're going to be talking about composition. You need the foundations to be able to make a solid piece or a solid environment. Every single pretty image has the basic foundation. Like if you were to build a building, you need a foundation in order to build a building. So I'm going to quickly go through a lot of this stuff. It's a lot of information, but you need to take upon yourself to dig deeper into it by looking online, taking what I'm going to be talking about and seeing if you can find it in other concept paintings or classical art pieces like I have on screen right now. It's a lot, and you don't actually have to use it as like, oh my god, I have to make a painting just like this, I have to follow these rules. No, you just understand it and just keep it in mind and make up your own stuff, as long as you're able to control the eyes through the painting. So if you, for instance, we'll be talking about rhythm with this stuff. Rhythm, why the eye is able to flow around here. You got some lines and diagonals. You have some layering. We'll be talking about value. Look at the different values, which is like the darker blacks. So if I was to turn this into black and white, this is what I mean by value. So darker areas, going further into the distance, it becomes lighter. Using some of these diagonals, push your eye up.
and using contrast, getting more details to push the eye in here. Look how all these little small details are in here. When I'm talking about contrast, you want to go in there. So just combining a bunch of these ideas to be able to kind of control what you want the viewer to see. So even this is pointing that way, so it's going that way, it's going that way. So then the clouds are pushing this way. This is constant, your eye is going around and around and around. Now to make a realistic environment with the values, you always have atmosphere. So this is a really nice exaggerated one where it's just way darker in the foreground, lighter in the background because of all the particles in the air. So let's get started. So for this section, we're going to be going over the foundations of being an environment artist or an artist in general. To be a real successful or a solid map painter, you have to understand the foundations. You have to know the foundations like perspective, some basic compositions and value. And because if you don't, and you just know 3D, you're not going to really be able to push it that far. And you won't be able to critique yourself that well either. So I'm not going to go into crazy details because there's tons of resources. There's so many artists out there that have Gumroad tutorials and they talk about compositions all over the place. I'll give you a book, like actually right now. The Framed Ink is actually a really good one if you want to understand composition. It's Framed Ink, Drawing and Composition for Visual Storytellers. It's awesome. It tells you everything. It's great. It's just really good. So yeah, I'll go through the basics and let's start with rules of thirds. So essentially, you're taking a canvas, say this is the outline, the border, the canvas, and then you break it into thirds. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And if you place an object along one of these lines or points, or inside of here, you'll have a focal point, and your eye will naturally follow to it. Keep in mind that these rules or basic ideas I'm going to be talking about, you don't have to follow them 100%. It's just things to keep in mind. And essentially, once you get comfortable with it, you make your own rules, you make your own compositions, and you'll just get a feel for it. You'll understand that, is the eye following to the subject point. So if you were to put a subject here, your eye will most likely go over here. So let's say I put a horizon over here, and I put a little mountain, whatever, city, something going on over there, just whatever it is. And you have a person right here, and he's like, hello. You get a sense that, hey, this feels good. It feels right. This is falling over here, this is falling over there. If I was to take this, push it over here, something over there, it just feels right. It gives it a nice space. It's comfortable. So that's just rules of thirds. So you're just basically just thinking, do things that I want my eye to pay attention to go along either in here, fall in here. Like some people, if you were to erase this, if you were to do like a headshot, that's the person, that's the head, and their eyeballs will line up around this dot. Whoop. Do that. Anyway, so that's basically what rules of thirds are. So let's talk about lines. I think the real thing is lines and rhythm. It's a really cool thing, and I'm going to really break it down to basic shapes. So let's do lines and diagonals and shapes too. So if you were to break down an environment, or let's just do shapes in general, you have curves, which appear more subtle. And then you have diagonals, which are more dynamic and they're more aggressive. You can create sort of emotion by creating the types of shapes you want in your environments, or even in your concepts, whatever you're making. It gives you a sense, like an emotion off the piece. So you could think about that, say if you want something like strong and aggressive, like a building, right? Very diagonal kind of stuff. Even classic sci-fi, 45-degree angle, whatever stuff. Very diagonal. Now, what's cool about this is that you can create contrast. Say a hill, right? So you have like a valley of a hill, or whatever, hills, it's a valley. And then you have a castle or something back there, anything, right? That sticks out, and you're creating contrast between sharp 90-degree angles versus a curve. So your eye is naturally going to go there. It's like, what is this going on here? Even if I was to just do what I had earlier, curve with angle. Whoops. With angles, like creating contracts with your shapes, essentially. So you're just basically, the end goal for composition is trying to lead the eye to where you want the viewer to go to. You can force the eye to go to certain areas that you want. So let's say I create an island or something. This is a horizon line. Now, of course, this is just in the center of the canvas, so your eyes now can go there. But let's say you had like a bunch of stuff that's going on, people walking around, whatever. But you want a little more force for the eye to go there. You can easily just go, let's add some clouds pointing this direction. Now instantly your eye goes there. I could even shift it. Let's just say I move this over here. And instantly your eye, this is leading your eye. You don't actually have to have a line or a line. You can have like invisible lines going there where this connects to that, connects to that, connects to that, connects to that, connects to that. You can do that a lot with, you can even do it with, say, garbage on the ground. If you had a subject, something here, and you have tons of buildings or whatever, and there's a lot of trees, anything that's just in the way of your subject, you can kind of invisibly imply that you're supposed to work or look into that area. It doesn't have to be super obvious, but you can imply it, like having just trash over here. Or you can have birds, or you can have light poles that are all going towards that guy. You don't need actual lines, you can just imply it. So that's a pretty cool little thing to know about. I guess with the lines, since we're already kind of pointing to that area, it's almost like showing perspective. So if you can also lead the eye with perspectives also. So let's just say perspective. If I have my horizon line, basically the horizon line is where the eye goes. If you're standing in a field and your eye is at that level, it's eye level. I mean, not where the eye goes, but it's eye level. So if you're standing on the beach, you'll see like the horizon at the edge of the ocean. Perspective, I have a 1-point perspective. So this is where the center point is. You bring it out, bring it out, bring it out, bring it out, bring it out. And then I go so instantly your eye goes right here because the 1-point perspective is forcing, let's put this to red. 1-point perspective is forcing you to go in, is look at me, I am beautiful. That's essentially what it's doing. So you could help lead the eye using perspective, which is, it's cool. It's a cool little thing. Let's talk about lines with power. So you could illustrate power with like a triangle. If you're your subject in here, actually, for example, I have an actual image about Frank Frazetta does amazing triangle compositions. So if you look at this, triangle composition, and it's strong, powerful. So he has all his subjects over here, and he's up at the top, and it's creating this awesome composition. So again, you could look into each one of these and dissect it more, check out classical paintings, see what the pros do, and see if you can recognize any of this stuff. I see awful composition all the time, actually, with tangents. You'll have like a subject, say a subject, and you have another subject, whatever is building. But this is hitting the edge right here, which is called the tangent. If I had extended this up, let's say this wasn't even here, let's say the subject is there, but then I extended this up to right there, your eye automatically goes there. It just becomes really annoying, but people don't think about that sometimes. Just stay away from it if you can, and stay away from objects that are hitting the corner there too. So just give it a little space. If I erase that a little bit, boom, space. Shift that down. You got more breathing room, It'll feel better. Let's talk about layers with lines. So if you were to do, say, an environment where you have hills, whatever, you can show perspective by layering the different objects on top of each other, because you can force it back. So if I was to say, this is a hill, all right, this is the hill, But then I can go, okay, this goes there. And it gets tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. Essentially, you're pushing it back, because when you're closer to something, let's say this person is, let's say, stick figure superhero guy over here, One Eye Man, was standing on this land, and he saw a hill. He will know, say that's where the horizon is, Flag. Say like this whole place is full of hills. There would be more gaps for his perspective compared to the ones over here. So he would be able to see this gap. Let's make that smaller. He would be able to see this gap more and more. And then as he gets further away, he won't be able to see those gaps as well. So essentially creating less, and it eventually becomes just a giant line, which is the horizon. So you see here, you're seeing more of the mountain or the hills, and you're seeing, so there's more space between, so you can see that area, and then it becomes less and less and less and less and less and less and less. Another example for this would be showing scale in objects. So horizon line. If I was to do a hill, I like my hills, I like my straight hills, and I was to do another one over here, what you could do is play with size. So to really help with scale, see, you can tell that these are objects going back and back because they're the same, just line. If you want to do it by, let's say you don't have so many hills, if you want to do it by object, you often want to keep the same kind of shape language to make it obvious that it's kind of the same thing. So let's say I put something here, and then I put another one of that same object over here. It instantly feels like it's further away. And I can put another one. Go. Instantly feels like it's further away. So that's another way showing perspective and pushing the eye where you want it to go. Now another thing is that you're doing trees and you have like your hills, whatever. Another way to show forced perspective is to, when you're adding trees and stuff, they often have grass around it, so you can just go add a little line in there. Another one over here, a line. This one, like, be a tree too. Like they have a little shrubbery or whatever, or a shadow that goes across. So very bare bones. I'm breaking it down for you because once you get into the prettiness and all that stuff, it kind of loses the straightforwardness, if that makes any sense. Because all the pretty stuff has this as its foundations, as its bones. If it didn't have this kind of stuff, it would just fall apart, especially when it doesn't have value, which we will get into later. Another one is doing contrast. Especially if you look at all the modern paintings they have, they think about this stuff. They know how to do compositions with basic little things. So this one's dealing with contrast here. So you can lead the eye with contrast. Let's say you have a basic, like a pizza, right? And you have one half that's just like whatever. But then you have another half that's crazy detail. Your eye is going to want to go to this more detailed area. So if I was to do just lines, like a modern painting, whatever, so here, here, here. So I'm just going around and adding areas with interesting stuff, shapes, whatever. And then I go this area. Your eye automatically goes over here. It forces your eye to go to this area because there's more contrast over here versus here. You're just like, what is going on over here? Let's do let's paint it a little. Let's say you have an object here, darker, an object here. And then you have one in the distance. It's just gonna be in the distance, and you'll have say just a flying mountain or whatever. But there's just like way more stuff that's going on. Way more interesting things, smaller details. Say it's a palace that has smaller details and it's going around, whatever. And you even have you have waterfall. Whatever. Anyway, your eye's gonna go over here because it's just more interesting. There's more little smaller details. So if you have an environment that's, say you have all these things, trees, whatever. Then back here you have this like way more complex whatever that's happening. Your eye just wants to go there. You add more little details like buildings, castle walls, paths, whatever. Your eye goes there, and this is just helping balance the weight of the canvas, and you want to look here. So sometimes people do in characters, actually. They'll have a character that is crazy muscular, muscles. And they want maybe like an area of focus. So often a painter will just be like, okay, let's just put a broad brush here, and we just get the cool values and colors, but then they put more detail in here in this area or in the face, right? Hello. It's even just broader detail here. Your eye just goes here, but you know that this is a body, but your eye wants to go here. So it's just forcing the eye. You want to be able to force the eye. So a lot of times movies and a lot of concept I'm seeing out there is they're just filling up the canvas with tons of detail everywhere. The really good guys out there will often say they have a castle here, right? That's tangent, you don't do that, but whatever. For examples, they have a castle here. Instead of having so much detail everywhere, right? You don't know where to freaking look anymore. Especially with 3D concept artists, they just say, hey, fill this area with tons of 3D models everywhere. They'll do it with lighting. They'll soften this area and cover it, or just put like a green patch of grass somewhere, and then your eye just naturally goes there. You see how like I just cover this in shadow or something, and your eye's there. Before, like you have nowhere to go. You don't know where to look. So simplify it. I've had that issue many times where I catch myself where I start out with great values or a good composition, but then I get carried away with fog or smoke or something, and I just completely lose what's going on the canvas and where my eye was supposed to be going. And because you think it's cool looking, you look at one little area here and you're like, oh, that's really cool fog, and you don't want to delete it. Just pull back. It'll look better in the end. Let's talk about, I guess you could call it rhythm. Rhythm is cool because let's say you have a whole, like a path or whatever, starting here, and you want your castle. I say castles because environments are always epic, okay? So castle there. You don't know what to look at so much, but you have a path here, a bridge here, a path here, and a path there, or here. And instantly, you create this rhythm. You tell your eye to go here, and then you go there, and you go there, and it comes in there. So you can have other subject matters over here, say like a cool tree that you wanted to look at or something. I don't know. But you want to be able to push the viewer through the canvas, which is cool. You can do that not with just paths, but you can do that with lighting or with trees as well. So let's do castle. You could have, let's say, hills. So this is a tree here, or actually start with the tree here, and then you want another tree down here, or let's say like a water over here. And your eye, like it's kind of line. It's almost the same concept as this, where you can create imaginary lines, imaginary rhythms, where you want to follow the viewer around. Actually, this is a foreground thing. So you go, just play with it. A lot of times you just kind of say, hey, this is totally what's happening, and you just go with it. We make up stuff to justify things. So goes life, huh? So yeah, that is some composition stuff that you can do with lines and rules of thirds. There's actually a cool way you can do rules of thirds with cropping. It pops up. You can switch it up here, rules of thirds, grid, diagonal, triangle, golden ratio. I don't believe the golden ratio so much, but you can do it. Make everyone happy. So if you want to ever test out your canvas or your composition, you can always just pull this up and check it out. And if you check out golden ratio, here it is. They say, oh, you're creating lighting and everything's going all the way around here, but they say life is all made out of this. And that isn't necessarily true. But if you look at it, same concept as just creating rhythms. So they have a reason for explaining everything. But in general, just try to force the eye to look at stuff. So don't go too crazy. Keep things in general, rules of thirds if you want to. But in general, you have an idea that your eye is going to an area. So use lighting, shadows, use less detail in areas and more details in other areas. So your eye goes there and it kind of brushes across somewhere else. Or try to use imaginary rhythms or directions with objects. Another one you can also use with contrast and value. But value will be the next topic.